Hey, it's Angela from the blog Angela Marie Made. I'm excited to share today how I built our DIY bathroom vanity. Last week I shared our bathroom makeover reveal, and our DIY bathroom vanity was a beautiful focal point of the room. We used premium pine wood and plywood for the build, and it only cost about $100 in lumber, even with the higher cost of lumber these days. The vanity was built to go with a 25-inch by 22-inch vanity sink top, but you can adjust the measurements for a different size sink. Also, I will link the exact faux marble sink that we used below this video. You can get a full cut list, material list, tutorial, and printable build plans on my blog, which is linked below this video in the description box. Before we get started though, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I share fun new DIY and decor videos every week here on the channel. Alright, let's get started. Step 1 is to make the initial lumber cuts for the bathroom vanity. Again, you can get a full cut list on my blog, which is linked below this video. Use a miter saw and cut the 2x2s, 1x2s, and 2x3 to size. Use a table saw or circular saw and straight edge guide to make the plywood cuts. Step 2 is to add pocket holes to the boards. Add pocket holes to all sides of the 2 plywood boards. Make sure the Craig jig is set for 1/2 inch thick wood. Then adjust the Craig jig for 1.5 inch thick wood and add pocket holes to both sides of the 2x2s and 2x3s. Next, adjust the Craig jig for 3/4 inch thick wood and add pocket holes to both sides of the 1x2s. Step 3 is to build the 2 side frames of the DIY bathroom vanity. Attach the longer plywood side frame together with a 1x2 board on the bottom of it. Make sure that the back of the plywood is flush with the back of the 1x2. I used 1/4 inch scrap wood to help with this part by placing it under the plywood. Use 1-inch Craig screws and wood glue to attach the boards together. Attach another 1x2 board to the opposite end of the plywood the same way. Next, attach a 2x2 leg on one side of the plywood board and 1x2. Use 1-inch Craig screws on the plywood board pocket holes and 1.25 inch Craig screws on the 1x2 pocket holes. Also, use some wood glue as well. A little tip is that it helps to place the 1/4 inch scrap wood under the plywood when attaching the 2x2 legs to it, so that the 1/4 inch indent on the front side is even. Finally, mark 3.5 inches up from the bottom of the 2x2 legs and attach a 2x2 for the shelf frame to the legs at this mark with 2.5 inch Craig screws. Make sure that the Craig holes face the underneath side as shown here, so that they will be hidden when the vanity is standing up. Repeat all of these steps to create a second side frame for the DIY bathroom vanity. Begin to attach the side frames of the vanity together and create the back of it with the 2 2x3 boards. Attach one 2x3 at the top of the vanity and one adjacent to the 1x2 bottoms, which are 14 inches up from the bottom of the legs. Attach them with wood glue and 2.5 inch Craig screws Also, clamps definitely help with this step. Note that the back of the vanity will remain open so that the plumbing can easily come through. Next, attach the lower shelf 2x2 to the back of the vanity, 3.5 inches up from the bottom of the vanity legs. Again, use 2.5 inch Kreg screws and make sure that the pocket holes face the underneath side. Step 5 is to attach the front boards to the vanity. Attach 3 2x2s to the vanity sides to create the vanity front. Use 2.5 inch Kreg screws and wood glue. Attach 1 2x2 at the top, one in the middle, which is 14 inches up from the bottom of the legs, and one towards the bottom, which is 3.5 inches up from the bottom of the legs. For the top and middle 2x2s, make sure that the pocket holes face the inside of the vanity so that they won't be seen, and for the bottom 2x2, you want to make sure that the pocket holes are facing the underneath side again. Now the frame of the vanity is complete and we can move on to adding the 2 shelves. Measure the openings of the vanity where the middle and lower shelves will go and cut 2 plywood boards to size to create the shelves. It's important to measure the exact opening on your build in case there are any slight variations in the actual measurements that should be accounted for. Add pocket holes to all sides of the plywood shelves and make sure the Kreg jig is set for 1/2 inch thick wood. First, attach the middle shelf to the vanity using wood glue and 1 inch Kreg screws. We attached our middle shelf 15.5 inches up from the bottom so it would be flush with the top of the 1x2s and 2x2s. We clamped a scrap board to hold the plywood in place where we wanted it to stay. Another tip here is to be very careful when drilling these 1 inch screws into the 1x2s and 2x2s. Due to the thinner plywood, the screws can pop out sometimes if they're drilled in too hard. We had to back ours out slightly. Attach the second lower plywood shelf into the bottom 2x2s so that the plywood is flush with the top edge of the 2x2s. Now it's time to add the 2 doors. First, measure the exact length and width opening of the vanity for the doors. You want the doors to have a 1/16 of an inch or an 1/8 inch gap around them. We decided to do an 1/8 inch gap around our doors so we'd have a little extra room. Construct the doors using 1/2 inch plywood framed out with 1x3s. Again, you can get a full cut list for everything below this video. After cutting the 1x3s to size, add pocket holes to the shorter 1x3s for the insides of the door frame. Then add pocket holes to the 2 plywood boards. Begin constructing one of the doors by attaching 2 of the shorter 1x3s to the shorter sides of one of the plywood boards with 1 inch Kreg screws. Use 1/4 inch scrap wood again under the plywood to help. Attach the 2 longer 1x3s to the longer sides of the plywood with Kreg screws. Repeat these steps again to create a second door. At this point, it's easiest to go ahead and drill the holes for the cabinet knobs. I drilled our holes 1 1/4 inches in from the 1x3 side and 3 3/4 of an inch down from the top. Step 8 is to install the doors on the vanity. Attach a 1x2 on each side of the vanity insides by the door openings with 1 inch wood screws. This provides a flush surface with our 2x2 frame for attaching the door hinges. Also, very importantly, for installing the doors, make sure to follow the directions that came with the inset door hinges you're using. We decided to use European hinges for inset doors for the first time. European hinges are nice because the doors can be adjusted after installation to get the perfect gaps and placement. Drill holes for the door hinges on the door frames. We used this Craig concealed door hinge jig for the first time to get the perfect hole for our hinges. To attach the door hinges to the door, use a square to help keep the hinge in place properly. Then pre-drill holes for the screws and add the screws in place. We used a special self-centering drill bit to get perfectly centered pre-drilled holes. After attaching the hinges to both of our doors, we lined them up in place on our vanity. We used popsicle sticks taped in place with painter's tape under the bottom of the doors to account for the bottom gap needed. We didn't bother doing this on the sides though, since we could just adjust the gaps once the hinges were installed. Also, we clamped a scrap board to the front to help keep the door in place while screwing the hinges into the 1x2s on the inside of the vanity, exactly where we needed them to be. For some reason, once the hinges were attached to the vanity though, they weren't sitting at a 90-degree angle and the doors were going inwards. This was our first time using these kind of inset European hinges, and I have no idea why this is happening. It was super frustrating though. To fix the problem, we installed 2 magnetic door catches to stop the doors from going inwards, which worked great. Then we removed the popsicle sticks and adjusted the hinges so that we had perfectly even door gaps all around. I'm so happy these doors turned out. And that's it for the build. Finally, we stained the bathroom vanity with 2 coats of Provincial by Minwax and then added a satin polyurethane the next day. We used a 25-inch by 22-inch faux marble sink top on our vanity, which I think totally elevates the look of it, especially for the style I was going for in our bathroom makeover, which I will link below. Don't forget to check that out. We attached the sink top with some silicone caulk and a 1/2-inch overhang on each side. Also, for our plumbing, we had to use a special pipe. However, a small opening could be cut out of the middle plywood shelf with a jigsaw or a hole saw and drill to allow plumbing to fit as well. I didn't want to sacrifice on lower shelf space because of the plumbing. I finished off the vanity with 2 beautiful round brass knobs on the door, which I love. I absolutely love how our DIY bathroom vanity turned out. I think it looks really custom and high-end, but it's totally budget friendly. Let me know what you think in the comments below, or if you have any questions. Also, let me know if you enjoy these kinds of videos, or if there's any other types of builds or decorating or room makeovers that you would like to see. And please subscribe to my channel for more DIY and decor videos. Thanks again for stopping by.